I want to know why the 15-year-old runaway was covered in blood.
I
Stick
still don't
around
know. Yeah.
if you want to know.
Yeah.
Look at these knobs. I got some new, like
No,
really pretty knobs.
mouth hunting.
Our camera is flashing. I'm hot. I'm hot. I'm hot. I'm hot.
Am I getting too snobby with my reads?
Ugh. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be lit.
I'm Brandon.
And I'm Taylor, and today we are doing a regular book update or reading update,
Yeah.
if you will. I have very little reading to report on because I'm just reading the same book that I've been reading for
Nothing
a
wrong with
while.
yeah.
I'm taking my sweet time. You, on the other hand, have a
Got a
whole
stack,
compendium, is that the right word for that?
maybe.
Of books to talk about. So we're
Yeah.
going to get into it. The way that we usually do these videos is we start off with our bookmark,
No, done and dusted.
done and dusted, like I said,
Yeah.
which is all the books that we've
Finished
finished.
since the
Okay.
last update.
Right, and that's going to be the Branden show. And then we're going to move on to bookmarks. These are the books that we are currently reading. They have bookmarks in them.
Yeah.
Also going to be the Branden show, but I've got some things to share. I've got thoughts on the book I've been reading
Right.
for a while. And then we're going to do quote of the day.
Yeah, I got a quote of the
We
day.
sometimes do compelling pickups, but we haven't picked up
I
anything.
did actually. I could do both if I
Did.
wanted.
It's
See.
the Branden show, which is fine. I'm going to be asking Branden some questions about the books that he's reading
Yeah.
because I want to I want to pick his brain about him.
Right.
I want to know why the 15-year-old runaway was covered in blood.
I
Stick
still don't
around
know. Yeah.
if you want to know.
Yeah.
He
There's a
doesn't have
hook.
any answers for you, but it's interesting. I also brought my knitting with me. While you're talking about that, I'm
All the
going to
books.
sit and I'm going to knit and
Yeah.
listen to you.
All right.
We'll see.
Okay.
It's a new thing I'm bringing to the show.
All
Maybe.
right. Should I start with my first done and dusted?
Don't start yet because we want to tell you that if you like what you see
Oh, yeah.
here and you want more content from Branden and myself,
Right.
you need to check out the Good Books Lately Patreon. Head over there. There's additional content over there. We have a book club that is going on, which incorporates live videos. We're actually going to be starting our first live Zoom book club meet. And it's not for like book snobs.
Yeah.
That's not what this book club is. It's for people that just want to read the same book
Read books
and
and
like
talk about it.
shoot the breeze together about it. We're not looking for kind of like highfalutin whatever.
Yeah.
It's just for fun. And it is a lot of fun. And we also have something called the after show, which we will have an after show for this episode.
It goes
They're,
up there.
yeah, they're little fun extra episodes where we
Got
do something.
book series that we're going. I got a new little library
Yeah,
series.
you've got your little free library series where you go into our little free library, grab a book,
Read it.
read it, and then go submit it to another free library, grab a book, read it. It's a
Yeah.
cool thing. And then I have a from the couch series where I talk about books. It's just
A lot of
fun.
A lot of fun.
We're having a fun. Check it out. You
Yeah.
can find the link down below in the description box. Thank you for your support. Okay, you ready to get into it?
I'm ready. Let's jump in.
Let's dive into done and
My
dusted.
first done and dusted. So I think on the last update I had said I was going to be starting this book,
Ooh,
and it's James Salter's A Sport and a Pastime. This book came out in 1963, I want to say.
yeah.
1967. And it's about an American
Hmm.
living in France, kind of a small town, small village in France. He's staying at a friend's of his place, and he's kind of just living there. And then another kind of mutual friend shows up from America,
Yeah.
kind of hang out. That friend meets a girl, a French girl, and starts a relationship. And this book is all about his imagination of what that relationship is and what they get into. So it's
Guys, it is absolutely an entry into Branden's Smutty
Smutty
book club.
Yeah.
Some of the things
there, it's got some
yeah.
spice to it.
Yeah.
It's got some descriptive
Uh-huh.
stuff.
And it's all imagined.
It's all mostly
Speculative.
imagined. The narrator isn't there present with his friend when he
Right.
goes out with this French girl.
But
So
does
he's
he have a
hooked up.
thing for the French girl? Is
I
that
think
why
he's like
he's
I
doing this?
think that you can kind of interpret that way. The narrator is very kind of like unsure of himself. He can, he's not.
Yeah.
He's not.
He lives in
He
a
doesn't have a
tent.
lot of confidence. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the girlfriend or the French girlfriend and his friend, that part doesn't really start until like, I don't know, 35-40% of the way through the book. So the first part's like
Really?
him kind of just talking about interactions. There's different things happening, like kind of like a expat living in France, kind of doing like you kind of a wealth, or of like a wealthy background, kind of privileged life.
Sure.
It has very similar vibes to that Ernest Hemingway book I read.
I was actually just gonna ask you if it has something like that. Well, because The Paris Wife, which is a book about Ernest Hemingway,
Yeah.
talks about, I think, the book you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't hate it. It just, it was, I kind of went in not really knowing what it was. I know it was recommended to me from one of the book sites or something.
Sure.
And so I kind of just, like I've been doing lately, just picking it up and reading it. And I enjoyed it, but it wasn't it wasn't one I'm going to go
How
back
many
to.
stars would you give it?
I think I gave it 4 or 3.5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it
I
was.
thought you were
I
gonna
didn't
say
give
it
it
was a
5.
5 star.
No, yeah,
Okay,
no,
cool.
but yeah, sport and a pastime. James Salter, interesting, a little spicy,
A
a
little
little
spicy.
smutty.
A little, a lot of it.
Yeah,
A lot
that's
of
it.
the way that things are worded and the things that happen. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yes.
Okay, my next one.
Yeah, let's
All
keep
right,
going,
this
baby.
is from that little free library
Oh, yes. This is
Patreon series I got going on. Otessa Moshfegh's Death in Her Hands. So
right.
I picked this out of our little free library
And we'll tell you this, there is almost a very complete review of this in
on our
terms of
Patreon.
how Brandon feels about it on our Patreon. And I ask him questions. It's very, we kind of dive into it a
Yeah,
little bit.
in one of our after
So we'll
shows.
keep this one brief, but like there's, if you want to dive into it a little bit more,
Yeah.
you can do
But
that.
yeah, so I went into this completely blind. I didn't let myself read any
No
reviews,
reviews.
no star ratings. I just went into my little free library looking for a book that looked interesting,
Yeah.
pulled it out, read the back is all I did.
And he read it to me,
Yeah.
the back, not the book. He read the back of the book to me and I was intrigued.
Yeah. And then so yeah, I was intrigued and I picked it, read it in a week. I enjoyed it thoroughly. It's one of those books that has an unreliable narrator,
Hmm.
but it really just follows the story of this woman, a 70-year-old woman living alone in these woods, and she comes across this note that says there's a dead body, but the dead body's not there, and now she's going to try to solve this mystery.
The note, yes. So
And
the note says, can I just read
yeah,
the note part? It
sure.
says, her name was Magda. Nobody will ever know who killed her. It wasn't me. Here is her dead body. But of course, there's no dead body of
Yeah.
this old lady who's in her 70s,
She
and
has
it
a
is a
dog.
widow.
Yeah, widow has a dog.
And she just finds this note, and she kind of becomes consumed.
Yeah, and it's kind of a story. I mean, you assume that it's going to be this murder mystery story, but really what it ends up becoming is kind of this cerebral, like, like talk about like maybe what happens with loneliness and, memory and as you get older,
Isolation.
isolation
Mhm.
and um, just kind of the choices we make and how we think back on what we would do differently and, reflection.
Listen, yeah, I
It's
didn't
really
read
good.
it, so what he's saying is true. But when we went, what the whole point of the video on Patreon was for me to read to him some of the more critical reviews of this book, since he read the book
Yeah.
and had no idea what the reviews were, to see if it would cause him to reevaluate his opinion of the book. Because sometimes that psychology,
Yeah.
that's what it does. Like you read a book, like it, and then you hear a lot of
Yeah.
criticism for it, and you're like, oh yeah. Which it didn't. Like he still likes it, but there was a lot of criticism for this book surrounding the fact that
You
the
don't,
blurb on the back
isn't what you get.
isn't what you get.
Yeah.
And I personally find that to be disappointing,
Right.
particularly because the blurb on the back is really interesting. And you want the story to be of this old lady who discovers this note that says, this is her dead body, this is her name, but there's no dead body. And so she wants to try and find this dead
Yeah.
body. That to me is intriguing, but you don't get that apparently from that.
No, you don't.
And
You get something quite different, but you get,
you enjoyed what you got. It
I
just
love it.
wasn't what you were
Yeah. And I
expecting.
really like the way it was written. Otessa Moshfegh, this is my first time
Mhm.
reading any of her books. I would, I
People
would,
love her
yeah, I would
books
pick up more of them.
from what we've talked about.
Yeah. It's
You're not going to get
what
what
you
you
expect.
expect by reading the back, but based on what Brandon got out of this book, he found it to be
Yeah.
interesting and worth the read.
No, yeah, for sure. And I gave it
Whereas a lot
five
of people
stars.
did not like the
Yeah.
ending and
But
didn't
there were
think it
still a
was
lot of
worth.
people that were
Yeah,
saying,
I did not, as somebody in our Patreon pointed out, fairly so, I did not focus
yeah,
on the positive reviews intentionally because I was trying to see if it would impact your opinion.
right.
But there were a lot of people that liked the
Yeah.
book. So good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I
Nicely
got
done.
one more done and dusted
Yeah, go
that
for
I
it.
got here. This
I
one,
have a whole sleeve to knit.
this, what is in here?
Ooh, is it candy?
No, it's a bookmark.
Hmm.
That's the bookmark I was using. But no, I read Ben McIntyre's Double Cross, The True Story of D-Day Spies. This is my second Ben McIntyre book I've read.
Is this the guy who writes about the shabby spies? The spies that don't like stack up to 007 that you were
Well,
telling
I
me
mean,
about?
it just talks about real life
Real life
spies and it
spies
makes you
that they're
real.
kind of shabby.
Yeah, I read the first I read was Spy and the Traitor.
Right.
This one is all about the D-Day spies that were working for um, MI5
The Operation
during
Mincemeat.
World War II.
Same type of like.
In that organization, in that thing. But these are spies that were originally working for the German side or the Nazi side get who flip and become British spies against Germany, but giving them still acting as if they're working for Germany.
I like
They're
that.
double agents.
That's a cool.
And it kind of goes through, I think there's 5 spies they kind of focus on. There's
Yeah.
5 main ones. And what you realize is one that this spy world is during World War II was very much like Britain was like on top of it when it came to who was better at it, Britain or Germany.
Germany?
Germany was very much like kind of all over the place. They were, it was a, you realize that their network was competitive in like the different fractions, and that
Factions.
factions that they didn't really communicate all that well. Whereas the British MI5, MI6, while they compete against each other, they are cracking every code, and they come to the realization at one point that all the German spies that they've sent to Britain are actually now our agents.
Returning.
We've turned them all. There's one that but they know of one, and he's not even giving correct information.
But what's interesting about that, and you talked to me about it a little bit too, is that some part of that seems to be coming from the fact that people who leave a fascist regime, like what was going on
Yeah,
under Hitler's control, and come into a country where that is not how it's being
yeah,
run, kind of flip because they realize that they've
a little,
escaped it in a way, and
a
that now
little bit.
like that some of them
Yeah,
came and then they were away from it, and that they didn't have to maintain that.
yeah. I mean, that's not really what happens. A lot of these spies,
Hmm.
they are either like from countries that were taken over by Germany during the first part of the war,
Hmm.
and now are kind of trying to get back at Germany,
Yeah.
or have never really liked Germany. They're not from Germany. They don't like the Nazi fascist regime, and so they kind of apply themselves because
Use it as an
they get out of
opportunity.
fighting on the front line to be,
Right.
use their smarts, and then they say, hey, I can
Use
do
their
something better.
smart.
And so a lot of the agents kind of turn for them, like they do it that willingly on themselves.
They're doing what
Um,
they can to get back at.
yeah, but it's really, really
It's
informative,
fascinating.
really fascinating. But like you were saying at the beginning, like if you think like secret agent spies are all 007 James Bond,
Sean
yeah,
Connery, Pierce Brosnan.
you get the idea that they're not. In
There's
this book, they're very much just like regular old people that are just kind of winging it.
you
There's
kind of
not
make
like
it sound like
fancy wristwatches
they're
and
like
cars.
newspaper men.
Yeah,
They go
but
around with like
the
fedoras
one
and
of the double agents
scarves.
in here, Popov, he writes a book.
Popov?
Yeah,
When he
he's
gets mad, does he pop off?
yeah. No, he writes a book, like a fictional like retelling of his like time as a double agent,
Yeah.
which people say is what Ian Fleming used as inspiration for 007. He kind of is like the real 007, but like his like retelling, his nonfiction or fiction telling of it is very much like fictitious. Like
Fictitious.
he's like he wasn't doing a lot. He
Yeah.
was definitely a playboy and kind of like was just spending money and gambling and like whatever, but like and was very much like had like 3 mistresses and a wife and like all this stuff.
Wow.
Like was but wasn't doing what James Bond was doing,
Okay.
um, as you see in the movies. But this is really fun. If you're a nonfiction reader and you like World War II stuff, or you've seen the movie Operation Mincemeat,
Which is a great
or
movie,
which
by
is
the way.
based off of the book by Ben McIntyre. He wrote that book.
Not this though. It's
No, but
not
not
this
this. But
one.
it's the same agency
Okay.
that ran that operation, ran this one. Um, they basically really help convince Germany that the the invasion at Normandy
Hmm.
was just going to be a feint, and that the real invasion was going to happen somewhere else. And that what it did was it held Germany held back a lot of their forces from going to the beaches of Normandy to push off the attack.
Okay.
And so they did a lot of things. They were doing a lot of like background stuff to make that happen, and
Mhm.
it worked because while a lot of people died, it's a tragic event.
Saving Private Ryan, the opening scene.
Right. They successfully
Sure.
conquered that beach, and that led the Allied forces to kind of make their way, push back Nazi forces because they were able to take that beach, and it was thanks a lot to the help of those spies and MI5s. It was called they called it the double cross, the XX um, group. The regimen of the Nazi higher ups are kind of you're starting to see a split, being very much, yes, Hitler always, or no,
People
I
are
don't think,
questioning
yeah, or I don't
leadership.
want this to happen, and kind of you start to see
Well,
it
that's what I was talking
slide.
about when you said that people were winding up in Britain and then not turning coat, if you could
Yeah,
call it that, but realizing I'm out of there and now I can kind of work
yeah,
against
yeah.
that
But then what they're seeing in here is these are people still in
in Germany
Germany
that
or
are
in Berlin,
dissenting.
or yeah, dissent, and kind of doing so in a way that doesn't get them executed. Like they're
undermining him.
undermining it without undermining it, kind of thing.
It's interesting, because you don't hear a lot about that. So when you started talking to me about that, you kind of hear like when it was like there were Nazis that were there that were working for Hitler, and it was just like ride or die. It's not,
Yeah.
there aren't like
Yo,
people
yeah.
that are wishy-washy.
There are very much like
But
those.
there were people that were trying to undermine that regime, but you don't hear a lot about that in popular media or popular culture and like
Yeah.
stories and things
Well,
that are dramatized about that. You
right.
hear a lot about the
Because they
people that,
weren't successful,
yeah, they weren't successful,
and
or it
what ends up
wasn't,
happening is they get caught and then
and
they
then
get
they're
executed.
gone. Yeah, so
Get
you don't have
lost.
their stories. It would be interesting to know more
Yeah.
about those
Yeah.
people. As I'm sitting here,
Operation Valkyrie was the
right,
plot to assassinate
that's
Hitler
right.
that
That
went
was
right because
that
a bomb
movie,
didn't go off.
and it was all based, that song was like important.
Yeah.
Um, another thing, as I'm sitting here knitting this sweater and finding that this is tangled, women, and I believe it was World War II and World War I, would hide messages.
Mhm.
And then even in like the Revolutionary War, I don't know, I'd have
Yeah.
to go back and do
Always.
my digging. I know that there's more to this,
Yeah.
but they would hide information in the stitches of the sock
Oh, really?
that they were knitting or anything that they would knit, and that they would take them like how many knits and how many purls. It was almost like a Morse code,
Nice.
and that would be,
That's great.
so I planned that.
Yeah.
I didn't.
All
All right.
right. That's my done and
So,
dusted. Do you want to go into your bookmarked and talk about your book?
yeah, can we just pause a second?
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and move to bookmarked,
Bookmarked.
and I'm gonna have you carry it off,
Okay.
okay? Now I have to front load this by saying that when I saw Brandon starting this
It was
in bed the
very,
other night,
very
I was
judgy.
so judgy.
Why are you reading?
I think it comes, let's have a heart to heart for a second. I am reading really slowly right now. I'm
Yeah.
knitting really slowly. I'm just everything is very slow for me right now.
Yeah. It's okay.
I don't know. That's just how things are going right now. But it's not because I'm not doing them.
No, you're not, it's not like you're not doing anything. You got a lot of
Oh
stuff
my
going on.
gosh, I have a lot of stuff going on. So anyway, he reads so many things, and he's listening to audiobooks, which we're not going to talk about because it would just be too much. But he, listens, he
Yeah.
reads, he's always got books going on. So this book popped up in bed the other night after he finished Smutville, and like it's this book.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, it's a Haruki
This is, I'm
Murakami,
currently reading
Kafka
this.
on the Shore.
Yeah.
And I see him like open it up and start to read it, and I'm like, "Oh, you're reading that book."
Yeah.
I wasn't like quite like that, but
Why? And then
I was like,
you
"What's
were like,
that?"
we're like,
And he goes,
why?
I know I did. I was like, "Why?" And he goes, "Well, I needed another book to read."
Yeah.
And then
I
my
had no
thought was
book.
like,
I was not
"Why
reading.
that book?" It's such a book snobby book. I
Yeah.
don't know that. I don't know. Don't listen to anything I'm saying. It was just me having a moment of
Right.
feeling very, um, what was I feeling? I was feeling very not good enough.
Right. Not up to snuff.
Not up to snuff as a BookTube host of a BookTube
Okay.
channel. And so he's over here reading Haruki Murakami's Kafka on the Shore. Just, you
Yeah.
ready to talk about it?
Sure. I don't have much to say because I'm still early on. I'm only like 30% of the way through. It's like a dent. This is like, it's
Let me
like
feel it.
four,
You
it's
said it's
really
heavy.
floppy. It's not heavy.
It's
It's
not
just,
heavy, but it's a
but
floppy
it's like
one. Yeah.
it's
Look
tiny
at these
print,
margins.
no margins. So each page has like 1,000 words on it, seems like.
He looks so sad. Haruki's so sad.
But I'm enjoying it.
Poor guy.
It was another one that kind of like I picked up when we were in Santa Fe last year or earlier this year.
Mhm.
Um, and I picked it up
Last year.
because I think your brother had mentioned that he like it's one of his favorite authors.
Sure, sure.
And so I picked it up. I've heard people mention it on the booktubes,
Mhm.
and then I kind of read the back and then put it on the shelf, thinking, "Oh, I'll get to that eventually." And then so I finally was like, "You know what? I'm gonna pick it up," and then didn't read the back,
Mhm.
and so I totally forgot what this book was supposed to
And
be.
you just started reading it.
Started
You
reading it,
just picked it up and started reading it like that.
yeah, and I,
Like
you
a
know, it's
monster.
interesting because it's like you're like, all right, I see where this going. It's about a 15-year-old boy who's gonna run away from home,
Yeah.
and he's kind of got like this spiritual friend of his or something that he talks about, and it's
Like
a
a
boy named Crow. That's
imaginary
what it's
friend?
called. Yeah, but you don't realize the boy named Crow at first is imaginary or is in his head. It's like his like internal monologue, I guess, or
Sure, yeah, yeah.
his like his I don't know what you would call it. It's like what drives him a little bit, like pushes him, like, or also there's like the one that like makes him like, demeans him a
It's
little
like
bit.
the demon on his shoulder.
Yeah, kind
Yeah.
of. So you get that, and then all of a sudden it jumps to like this, like, you know, post World War II Japan, like
Mhm.
revisiting like this incident that happened about like these children passing out, losing consciousness in the woods. And
Which you haven't really explained much about that to me,
I don't know much
but
about
I
it.
know,
Yeah.
and
And so then,
that's an interesting thing. I don't know why these kids would be
yeah,
passing out in the
I don't
woods.
know. And then there's a character that, you know, can speak with cats,
Oh,
but he's
that's
also
good.
kind of dim-witted,
Okay.
and that's interesting. So I'm starting to kind of weave it together. But I was talking with your brother last night. He's like, don't expect all the storylines to kind of just weave together and come up to this great. He's like, it's definitely going
Right.
to leave you like it's very much um, a subconscious, like you got to trust the subconscious kind of thought.
Sounds to me like it's going to be very similar to that one that you read about the lady who finds the note about the body.
A little bit. I think it's going to have like kind of an unreliability to it, but I'm enjoying it. It's well written. This is translated, obviously, I
Who's it
believe.
translated by?
I don't know if it has a translation on it.
Right.
Well, it's beautiful. It's well written. I like the way it's written.
Good.
But yeah, so I'm enjoying it. I'm 33 or 30% of the way through.
At one point, there's this 15-year-old boy wakes up on a beach covered in blood.
Not beach, like in a shrine,
Aware?
Japanese
A
shrine area.
Japanese shrine covered in blood, and we don't know why.
And I don't know why. Still don't know
We
why, but
still
he's
don't know why.
afraid. Now he's up in the woods
And
somewhere.
I ask him all the time, like, "Hey, do we know why the kid was covered in blood?" And we don't know.
Yeah,
I think my prediction,
because you
based on
absolutely
absolutely
not.
nothing, is that he did not kill somebody,
Yeah,
but was killed. Was
he was killed and then
but was
realized.
somebody being killed adjacent, and something happened,
I
and so
stepped
he's
in.
confused,
Yeah, I don't know.
and he's gonna find out that it isn't what he thinks, but he thinks the whole time
Yeah,
that he's done something
but
horrible.
there's a little bit of spice and smuttiness too. A little
Oh
bit.
yeah, you can talk about they talk about members and things.
Yeah. All right, but yeah, that's what I'm reading right now.
Do you want to hear something funny?
What?
You already heard it. I'm going to tell it to
Oh,
the people. I bought a bunch of knobs to put on our cabinets, these like hand painted knobs to
right.
kind of update our cabinets. And I asked you if you wanted to see the
Look at these
knob. Look
knobs.
at these knobs. I got some new, like
No,
really pretty
knob
knobs.
hunting.
I went, this is it. That's all as far
Yeah.
as it's going to go. Because I feel like that's what is being talked about in
Oh
that
yeah,
book a
a
lot.
little bit.
Not that verbiage. I'm sure Haruki would not use that verbiage
No,
in his books.
he did not.
Okay, is it my turn?
It's your turn, but I'm gonna change the battery out
Oh,
here.
battery's dying. All right, so I am still reading When Gods Die by C.S. Harris. This bookmark, by the way,
It's cool.
is
You hand painted that.
I did. I drew it and then I painted it with watercolor on a big piece of watercolor paper, and I didn't like the background was just kind of nothing. And so I figured I would cut it out and laminate it and
That's
turn
so
it
cool.
into a bookmark. Hold on, I'm trying to. I can't. She's diving. Not kind of cool.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, she's awkward to put in my book. She just whatever. I love this book. I've been reading it for a while. It's
Yeah.
taken me a little bit of
Okay.
time. I am on chapter 36, and I'm finding that I love this author
Hmm.
for her for like the mysteries that are going on in the story and the characters
Yeah.
and the writing as much as for the history that is involved in the story. So
Right.
she is actually a historian.
Oh,
So
okay.
C.S. Harris is a historian. Um, who lives in New Orleans with her husband and two daughters.
New Orleans.
She's written several award-winning historical romances. Anyway, she's a historian. Okay, so history is her thing.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
I love this like I love S.J. Paris's Giordano Bruno books
Yeah.
and C.J. Sansom's Matthew Shardlake
What's
books
up with them
because
all having like they
I
have like
don't
two initials
know, but
before
I
their
get
last
them
name?
confused all the time. But if you like historical fiction and you like mystery,
Yeah.
this one is like the Giordano Bruno books are more thriller based, and I feel like CJ Sansom books are a little bit more thriller. I mean, they're not like heavy duty thriller, but they're more thriller than this. This is very much a mystery, a whodunit. We have a really interesting protagonist who's kind of an unconventional detective, if you will. He is not a detective by trade. He's actually a viscount.
Yeah.
So he's an aristocrat in the upper crust of England during the Regency period, but he has a special interest in figuring out who the person is who has killed these people in both the first novel in the series and this novel too. So he has a motivation
Yeah.
to find the killer. And this particular one is really interesting because his motivation is tied directly to his past, which we're learning a little bit more about his past. So you have the mystery about this person who is dead, who killed them, how that's linked to the crown in some way. And then there's something about that that ties to his personal life and his mother, who presumably dies,
Okay.
which I don't know. But then you also have the history of the Hanovers during that Regency time you're talking about. This is George, Prince,
Prince
oh,
George.
Prince George. I don't know the number.
It's
But he's the Prince Regent. Okay,
right,
he took over for his dad, who was like mentally
but
not
he's not
there.
ready to take over the
He's
crown.
just absolutely
He's not
incapable of
king yet.
doing it. No, he's
Yeah.
not the king, and there's a lot of people that don't want
He
him
the
to
one that was
become
like
the king.
partying all the time,
Yes,
like a boat
yes. Yeah, I
or an
believe
island or
so.
something.
Well, yeah, he was just very much like not interested in anything that was going on in England. He just wanted to party and
Yeah.
spend his money and live this like frivolous life, and he's ridiculed for that. He is one of the Hanovers. So
Okay.
when the Hanovers took over, and James Stewart or
Yeah.
Bonnie Prince Charlie, there's a whole history here that goes back to like the Bonnie Prince Charlie and the Jacobean kind of uprising
Yeah.
in Scotland because they wanted to get the Stuart back on the throne and have it be, British, be under the Catholic,
Yeah. Yeah.
a Catholic monarch again. That whole history is
Is
kind of coming to the surface here. Now, this is in the 1800s, so it's well past that,
right. Yeah.
but it's still kind of coming to the
It's
surface
coming
here
back.
because they want to get the Hanovers out of the
Yeah.
monarchy. Okay, and so they think that that might have something to do with what's going on in the story and how what's going on in the story in terms of the crime would implicate the Prince Regent.
All right.
There's a lot to it. There's a lot of layers. I do a lot of Googling to figure out more about the history here, which I absolutely love it when a book drives me to do that
Yeah. Yeah.
because I learn a little bit more. But I think it's great because I'll be reading along and I'm thinking, there's not a lot of like thrilling action. There is, but
Yeah.
it's not like all the time.
It's not
But
constant.
yet I'm just reading through it because I'm so interested in
Yeah.
the characters, in the history, in the plot that's happening
Yeah.
here.
You'll like stop, like look something up, like, oh wow, I didn't.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
it's really interesting. So I'm
It's great.
enjoying this. I'm really enjoying this. I think that historical history buffs and historical fiction readers
Yeah.
would really love this if you want to dive into a new series that kind of has this like whodunit vibe.
There's like 20 of these, right?
Oh, there's a lot. And they're not I don't know, like sometimes you get those like whodunit books and you feel like they're
Just
easy,
yeah, quick.
quick and easy
Yeah.
reads, but this is very layered and
That's
multifaceted, and
good.
I really
No,
enjoy it. So yeah, I definitely recommend this. It's the Sebastian St. Cyr mystery series by C.S. Harris. Very well written and very
researched.
well researched.
That's good.
Absolutely.
You like that?
Yeah, recommend it. It's
Cool.
good. That's it.
Well,
I don't,
you
do
got
I
a
have
quote of the day, or you?
I could do a quote of the day. I had something in here that I marked that I thought was kind of
Okay.
interesting.
I have a quote from Death in Her Hands.
Oh, good.
You want me to go with that?
Yeah, and another thing I was going to say here, this is written in third person. Historical fiction, in my opinion, when written in third person,
Yeah.
is so much more interesting sometimes because you can get more information about the time period and you don't rely solely on the perspective of the main character
Right.
because the main character is in that time period
Yeah. So
and
it's not gonna be
it's
able
going
to.
to be a very
Yeah.
limited scope.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're looking at it from a third person, you can be given background information and not have it feel
Right.
like it feels like it's important to be given. Like there's a whole section here I was reading and it's a conversation between the main character and his father, which is really important. And it kind of just seamlessly blends into, and this is the context of this historically speaking, and you
Yeah.
don't feel like it doesn't feel forced. It's very natural. Of course, because you're not relying on a person who's living that time period. Okay, my quote of the day. I don't even remember why. Okay, well, let's see. Uh Oh, I thought this was interesting when we talk about like maybe leaders, political leaders, and people worry about one political leader having an
Too much
impact.
power.
Too much, well, yeah,
Or
like you don't like the one political leader, and that's a huge problem because you're afraid that that political leader is going to be the sole um power behind everything that
right.
happens. And I don't believe that's true because I feel like there's so much else going on around that
Yeah.
leader that you
But
really
at
need
this
to be paying
time,
attention to. Well,
there's
this is a
no less, right?
yeah,
There's
this is a monarch,
yeah.
but the point is that you might have this monarch in power sitting on
Oh,
the
I see.
throne
What you
wearing the crown, but this person is can only do so much and will only do so much, and what they do will be so greatly influenced by the people they surround themselves
right.
with. And I think it's really important to remember, like, don't focus so much on this single person
Yeah.
because you're missing the things that are
The
going on
the
around
players
them
around him.
that are very, very, if not more important. Okay. Um, Gwyn was passionate about many things, but government wasn't one of them. As far as she was concerned, one crowned puppet is pretty much the same as the next. It's the sycophants and thieves with which they surround themselves that you need to watch out for. And I thought it's like
Yeah.
very true. It's like
Yeah.
don't pay so close attention to the one person. You should be paying attention to that person, but also
Yeah.
the people around them. I just
Sure.
kind of thought that was interesting.
All right.
It's always relevant. It's always true,
Yeah, for sure.
right?
Okay, mine comes from Death in Our Hands.
Yeah.
This is towards an end of a chapter, and the main character is kind of just thinking about this Magda body that she doesn't know, but she's starting to develop like this idea of who this person is, even though she has no idea who this person was.
It's so funny because the connection between this one and the sport and a pastime, how she's like creating
It's
a story.
very much in her head.
Yeah.
But so she's kind of feeling sad about Magda and like the choices she made in her. It's weird.
Sure.
But she says this, there is nothing more heartbreaking than a squandered opportunity, a missed chance. I knew about stuff like that. I'd been young once. So many dreams had been dashed, but I dashed them myself. I wanted to be safe, whole, have a future of certainty. One makes mistakes when there is confusion between having a future at all and having the future one wants. So it's like this idea, like we always have opportunities, we always have choices, and it's in the moment we think we're making the best choice, but upon reflection, maybe we think, oh, if I would have done this differently, what would have happened? What would my life be like? Would I be happier? Would I have done this thing right? And it's kind of like that book Replay I read, where he gets the chance to kind of do that, and he realizes that he doesn't really make a difference for himself. He's going to kind of have the same issues, the same things. So I think it's interesting that I think people do that a lot. They think back on choices they made, and they either regret it or they wonder what would have happened.
It's that it kind of goes with that, like, hindsight is 2020. It's like really easy to say, yeah, hindsight is 2020. However, even if you were to go back and change what you did based on your hindsight being 2020, your result may not be any better.
Right. And I also, what I think about that is, like, we always have these opportunities. It's just I watched a TED talk that I showed my like freshman studies class, and it was like and I think there's a quote. It's like the opportunity's there. You just gotta like open the door for it.
Yeah.
Like,
you gotta reach out.
Can't be afraid to just do it. If you want, you gotta be able to take advantage of the opportunity that's presented to you. And I think a lot of times we think like, oh, there's nothing available for me, but you're not looking at it the right way.
Well, if you're not actively pursuing it.
So you miss that chance, but you didn't take this chance to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You miss 100% of the swings you don't take.
Shots
you don't take.
Yeah. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott.
Yeah. And then what was it like, people that like with we're really going off in the weeds here, but like the lottery ticket thing, it's like people always complain about like, "Ugh, I never win the lottery. I would never," like, how many lottery tickets have you scratched? Well, none.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, it's true. What am I doing?
I don't know.
Sometimes I get like, I don't know where I'm transitioning in here, what we're chatting about. And I come over here and I move the mouse around on my computer.
Like,
it is the weirdest
to the next thing.
It's like, okay, on to the next. I don't know what that is. All right, this was good.
Yeah, that's it. That's all we got.
That's all we got. My goals for the next little bit here is to finish that godforsaken book. It's not a godforsaken book. I love it. I just want to move on.
Yeah.
Lives of Locke Lamore, but I want to get into my reading journal again. I need to start using this again, and I haven't been.
Yep.
But our camera is flashing. I'm hot. I'm hot. I'm hot. I'm hot.
Okay.
We can put that in the beginning.
Let's end it here then.
Yeah. And then we're going to see you guys in the after show, because you're going to head over to Patreon, check it out, and it's going to be right for you.
Yeah.
All right. In fact, in this episode of the after show, we're going to do something a little different here. We're going to employ the froggy timer that our boys use to brush their teeth for 2 minutes. And we are going to sketch a thumbnail sketch of
main characters.
The main characters from the books that we're reading. Okay.
So if you want to check that out,
see how that's going to be,
come join us on Patreon for the after show.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be lit. If it's not right for you, that's totally fine too. We just love that you're here. So thank you guys for hanging out with us.
Yeah. Right? If you liked it, thumbs up it.
Subscribe it.
Yeah. And leave some comments.
Yes.
What are you reading? What are you reading? What are your thoughts on these books?
Always drop comments down. What did you have for breakfast? It doesn't matter.
Am I getting too snobby with my reads? All right.
All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.